Hey everyone, welcome back to podcast and welcome back to episode 11. We're almost only a few weeks away from being a year going, so the time's going fast. So, as I say regularly, I'd like to thank everyone who's downloaded and listens to it, and everyone who's joined us on YouTube. And support has been brilliant, and just like to say thank you very much. So, in today's podcast, get into pet lambs. Uh, Selling ewes and lambs afoot, Balmoral, some fat lambs, and a bit about the Silage plastic. So, start off with how would you describe it? I was doing a bit of work with the tractor one morning, and job was oxo, and I had to leave the bucket off it and bring back the forks on the tractor. So, I had everything done, and I was coming back nice and early and way ahead of schedule. Job was great, going great, and I was really happy with myself. So, I came out through the gate, and forks popped off the loader. I said, oh, wait a hell. So I got up and I fixed them back on and went down then, closed the gate. For whatever reason, when I pulled the lever, I didn't pull it properly. See me. So coming down the road, heading for home, and I was getting near the village and stopped at a T junction, went down the road, went over a little bit of a bump, and the next thing was boom, the fork's off. And when these things happen in slow motion, you're there going, really, is this what has happened? So the forks landed, hopped up in the air, came back down, and then went straight into the wheel tractor. I said, no. This is maybe a structure. Maybe in the look of the world it didn't happen. So I just reversed back the tractor a little bit. Nothing happened for a second, and the next thing, air out within about 30 seconds. So I picked up the forks, put them on properly, and drove the tractor around the corner and parked up on the bridge. And then I rang the tire company to come and fix it. Now, they came and fixed it, and they're quite quick, considering where they were, and they're quite obliging. But they didn't put a new tyre on. I was expecting to put a new tyre on it, but they didn't. They fixed the hole on the side, paired it up, put a tube into it, done a work on it. Your man was working at the tyre for an hour and got ready, and I don't know how much a new tyre would be exactly, but I know it was a lot cheaper to get it fixed up. But it was a good service, and it was just how easy your man was. But your man just worked away, not a hobble on him, and side of the road didn't make any difference. It was great to see, and it was great to have such a help. So, uh, pet lambs. So on a previous podcast, I spoke about pet lambs. Is it worth feeding them, doing them, and things like that? So, three lads got back to me, and they said their experiences of it. So the first guy, lambs kind of early. He feeds on his pet lambs and doesn't let them out of the shed. Now, something that they all said was they all feed them straw, which I didn't really realise much about. But to feed them straw, so he feeds them for 6 weeks, milk, and then milk onto nuts, keeps the straw out of them, keeps them in the shed, feeds them, and finishes them. An interesting point he said to me was they're his own lambs, so he's not buying them in, so they're triplets and things like that. So he's done all the hard work with them, and he just finishes them then. So he says he's turned his pet lambs from last year into a 20-year-old lamb into 170. So again, I thought it was a good way of doing it. He doesn't let them out at all. So I thought himself, it was good, but I suppose the R lamb there, that is the key with them too. Talking to another guy, and his would be they'd be what, April in the March lambs. So he feeds them again for 6 weeks, and again he gives them straw. But again, near the end of it, he'd let them out during the day and back in at night time, and does that then with them till they're hardy, little small paddock, feeds them, and then moves them on then in the summer. And again, they could be pet lambs he'd have picked up off neighbours and bits and pieces. So there wouldn't be his own pet lambs, bar maybe one or two. So there would be just lambs that he'd get that in the local area. And again, it's a good way doing. He's a good because he's been doing it a few years, it works well for him. The third guy was what I was kind of expecting to hear back about the pet lambs. So he bought pet lambs the first year. Now, I think we'll just say for argument's sake, we bought 25. Got on brilliantly with them. Fed them, everything. They'd just done so well with him. He couldn't have been happier. Delighted with himself. Got great money for the lambs, fed them, pushed them on. Said to himself, this is the plan going forward. And next year, fed them, doing really well. And then he got up to the shed and be one dead today. And up later on the evening time, another one dead. And the next day, there might be none dead. And 2 days later, there'd be one dead. He lost, clattered them for different reasons. But again, he had them in the shed and was feeding them. So the last guy was kind of some of the experiences I would have had with pet lambs. But I suppose you can be lucky and unlucky. And, there has to be something in feeding on the pet lambs. Like Elaine has 3 here at the moment. And she's feeding them on. And one has done really, really well. One has done average and one is not doing great at all. But the early ones that we done, they have done rightly. So we did put them out, but they're out on creep. So I just wanted to bring it back in as to, people are feeding pet lambs, people are doing different things, that it is important in this day and age that we try different things and have different ideas about things. And again, if anyone else has any suggestions, feel free to get back to me. So next thing I want to talk about was selling yows and lambs on foot. I brought Mayo yows to the sale recently and got on really, really well with them. But I couldn't understand the price of them and why the lads would be paying that money for them. Like, to me, it just didn't make sense. Like, genuinely, I guess don't understand it. For the Mayo yows, the money they were making. And I can understand it if lads were paying big money for pedigree yows or big money for young yows afoot. Fair enough. But old yows, lambs afoot, like, do they think the trade is going to last forever? And I suppose that brings it on to my next point. What I want to talk about was fat lambs and the lambs going to the factory. The guy went to the factory this morning with lambs, and the Dorset lambs, there's 14 that went, doing rightly, doing really happy how they've done. They've had a good bit of milk, but they're doing rightly. The lad that was talking to at the factory, there was a whole lot going into it this morning. He was telling me that fat lambs now in sale, big lambs, you have to give more for them in the factory. And that big lamb price has gone back in the market. And I seen on Facebook someone was talking about it, about the fat lambs and how the big lambs, heavier lambs, is not as good as straight up lower lambs. But like, for the last 10, 15 years, I've been listening to the factories saying we want lambs killing out a certain way. The butchers aren't buying the lambs at the dear price because they can't sell them. So I don't understand why lads are keeping to put the weigh on them. Any more than a 45, 46 kilo lamb to the factory, pure waste. Our lambs this morning were 43 back to 39, and hopefully now in 2 weeks' time we'll have another batch of lambs to go. In 10 days, I'd say they should be ready to go. And the video of them will be up the weekend of YouTube. Just a video of them to show what they're like. But with the weights and the price, and I just thought to myself, why the lads put the pressure on themselves to get them up to that weight if the market doesn't want them? Spring lambs, particularly, autumn time, yeah. And I was talking to a girl last week. She's down in Clare, and the same thing. The price wasn't the fire, and things were back. So it's just one of those things that I just look at and go, when I have to look at your markets. And what your man that I was talking today was telling me was he's been sick since the spring. He's had a few health problems, but what he said was he just wasn't checking the lambs. He just kept feeding them because he is going to get out of sheep, or is definitely going to cut down. So he's 150 lambs gone in springtime, and he has the smallest ones left. He said that he's moving them on, and he says the owls is eating meals. He can't keep the owls out of the truck, and he can't keep the birds away from it. And I'd agree with that because I don't understand. The owls, once they get a sniff of getting to the truck, they just attack you. And I've had that problem this year with 2 batches now, and I've had to change my creep feeder for that reason. Not that there's nothing wrong with the other creep feeder, but the owls were just absolutely hammering it. And the feeder, you actually see them put their head into it, and they actually move the feeder, they'd be pushing into it that much, so. But he's another man that's going to cut down. So he's 150 spring lambs, to say early, and he's another fair lot today, and he's more coming in a few weeks. So that's 200 lambs probably going to be gone out of the system next year. And I suppose the question is, with all those lads that are getting out of sheep and cutting back in sheep numbers, what's going to happen to sheep trade in Ireland in a year or two's time? Because an awful lot of people are talking about cutting down on it. I think it's going to get serious next year. And if it doesn't get serious next year, the following year it will be very serious. Because I know trade having a high price is great, but you need people farming. And from anyone I'm listening to and who's chatting to, seems to be people in good ground that's cutting back on the numbers, not the people in bad ground. Sheep work away, but good ground seems to be cutting back the numbers. Then recently we were up in Balmoral at the Balmoral Show. So we went up on the Wednesday, went up the first day, and the Suffolks were there, the Dorsets were there, Hampshire Downs. Well, I suppose a couple of little things about the show. It's a good day out, but it's so easy to get around. You want to see the cattle, you want to see the sheep. You've loads of room, you've loads of time, and it's just so easy to get around. It's the only show that I have to say that getting around it was easy. I like Tullamore Show and I've been to the ploughing, but compared to the two of them, getting around Balmoral is just so much easier. It's all pretty much level, no muck and slop anytime I've been up. You're walking on good ground, and it makes a hell of a difference. And definitely if you're into sheep or stock, I definitely recommend it for anyone to go to it. And also, next year, I probably will go next year, but I want to go a different day to see different stock in it. Because where they had the stock penned, it's in a shed. It's the only place that I've seen in the shows that have really good facilities for all the stock. Not just for cattle or sheep or one or the other, but the sheep were in the shed, except if it rained, you're only taking the sheep out for a few minutes to show them where they're in the shed the whole time. Wherever other show you go to, it's outside. Now I understand other shows can't compete with that, but maybe it's something that the bigger shows need to look at and say, well, look, hang on a minute, we're pushing on the shows here. Why is the stock outside in the lashings of rain? We were in Dundalk last year, brilliant show, loved the day out in it. But when it hit last rain, by God, it destroyed the place. Where the year before it was a scorching sun, and you really couldn't stick it, so with one extreme to the other, so. That's one thing in Balmoral, the stock is well looked after and well minded, and I'd say from all the shows I've been at, it's probably the best for the stock. Catering for the stock. Wouldn't say the stock in it is better than other places. Good stock, fine stock in it, but I'm not going to judge different breeds in different places because it'd be just too much into it. So recently I asked people a bit about the Silage plastic and what they done, because I brought Silage plastic down to. Well, first of all, I got in touch with the company that's supposed to collect the plastic around the country, and they said, we've no collection dates for Wicklow. We want to tidy up the shed, I want to get things organised. And I says, any ideas when? No, we've no dates sorted for Wicklow. So I said to myself, well, what am I going to do? So I went to Carlow with it, and it cost me €140 for the full transit truck. They said to me, they take anything you want to bring down, and it'd be bottles, bags, anything they'll take it, there's no problem. And like it's very good as they have in fairness, and there's great stuff to go into. You know, they have a little bit of a digger that takes it out, takes a couple of seconds to unload it, and you're in and gone. And they have everything in its section, from household to timber to plastic to cardboard, and then there's all heaps of containers outside for stuff to put into. Like, it's a really good setup, but it still cost me €140. And it's something that I kind of, it's not that I would give out about, but people go to the shop, they pay an extra 15 cents for a recycle to get that back when they, or 25 cents, whatever it is, for when they're selling their bottles and all that, and they usually take it off the shop or whatever. But us as farmers, we have to pay a higher cost in the arm every year. The plastic's going up, paying the arse to store it, and then pay the other end of it to get rid of it. The kind of, to me, just doesn't make much sense at the moment. Now, I'm not saying that won't change, and probably won't change in this podcast either, but I just thought to myself, it's a little bit rich that we have to pay to get rid of it. And I know you could say you could weigh on and go to collections, but sure, you still have to drive a distance to go to collections. And there was no collections coming up anytime soon, so I just said, you know what, has to go. I have to get the shed tidied up, because if I need it for sure, and I can't have the way it is. And so the reason what I was using for the store of plastic was, and the net. Now, it was good for the netting. I had a half-ton bag in a Veho box, and I had it filled up. But the problem was, when you filled it up, I didn't take it out of it and fill up the bag. I just filled up the box, and the box filled up on grand. Then I had the plastic in the box, which was grand. Because if you need to move the box out of your way when getting in a house or something, that you can move it. But then I kept filling it, kept filling it, kept filling it, kept filling it. And eventually it was that full then that you're the only one that was enjoying it with Belle, because she'd get up right up to the top, like a triangle, up to the top of it, and she'd play away, and I'd sit on it and watch everything. And storage wise, it was grand. But when it came to loading it to get rid of it, it was pure hardship, because you had to hand fork every bit of silage out with that. And you know yourselves, when you've come in with the tractor and you've pushed it down, you fill it up again, you come in with the tractor and you push it down. The bottom stuff is fairly tight down in it, and that's how I just said to myself, look, I can't have this next year. So I said, I'll pull it out and reach out to a lot of people, and I asked them, I was like, what do they do? And so people got back to me, and one guy says he puts it in the corner of the yard, and then they come in with the loader and the tractor up into it and load it off. So, which is grand. One, which is, it's kind of a simpler way of doing it, but it gets wet and mucky then. So that's kind of what I wanted to avoid. Another person that they were stacking it into their half-ton bags, putting it into the machine, one of those compressor machines, and tightening it down and strapping it, so they're making it really small and compact. And not everyone would have them. But what lads got back to me with, and quite a few people got back to me with, was use a half-ton bag and you make up a frame with pallets to put your half-ton bag onto. So you have 4 pallets around, pallet on the bottom, and you keep putting in. One guy said he was able to feed his hours in the shed, bring over the bale, hold it up, take off his netting or his bag, go straight down into the bag, reverse back, and then go feed the sheep. Others said they'd have the bag then in the corner of the shed where they can get in with the tractor and just keep filling it up. And I think for me next year, that's something I'm going to have to do. But I feed sheep in different places, like a lot of sheep farmers. You're not feeding them at home in the shed in the hills, so you have a lot of different places to feed, so it can be tricky. But definitely a few old half-ton bags in a few plastics, in a few set up, and away I go. And definitely I'll have to next year, because this year I just got too much hardship loading it, and it looks untidy, but if I had it set up right now that people have told me and I know an easier way of doing it, I will, because when I'm feeding them, we can bring half-ton bag and put it into another shed and store it, and it's easy store, which is good news. And that's the one good thing with social media. People do get in touch with you and tell you these things, and like, okay, people might say, sure, you should know yourself anyway, but like, nobody knows everything. That's the whole point of life. We never know everything. So that's the podcast for today. A few different topics. So just look, thanks all very much for watching and listening. And I hope you are subscribing to the YouTube channel and getting spreading the word. And as I say, we've lots of videos coming up on YouTube over the summer. And Yvane's going to be off, so she's going to give me a hand and I'll do all the videos. So we'll see what we can come up with and what we can do. So just again, big shout and a big thank you, and chat to you all very soon.